Howdy, friends. It's Steve DePoe with the Rose Realty Team with this week's Real Estate Vlog for North Texas. Today, we're going to talk about home reno ideas and costs. But before we get started, hey, a favor. Hey, you're already watching this video on YouTube. If you could like and subscribe to our channel, we'd really appreciate it. But do us a big favor. It would kind of put us up to the top of the search engine when it comes to real estate ideas and real estate agents and selling and buying houses, that kind of thing, and new construction. It'll kind of put us at the top of the search bar and really kind of help us out a lot. So really appreciate it if you could do that. Anyway, home reno ideas. So consider this. Is it cheaper to really do it yourself or to hire the right person, right? So it's cheaper to do it yourself, right? Well, maybe not. There are sometimes if you don't have the expertise in that particular field, let's say putting down cement. Okay, if you don't have that particular expertise, then maybe it's going to end up costing you something like 10 or 40% more. Tell you a quick little story. About 30 years ago, I had a house in New Jersey before I got to Texas, and I decided to put wainscoting in the family room, okay, along the bottom, I guess it was bottom third of the family room wall. And I had gotten a couple of quotes and they were like out of the ballpark. I mean, they were nuts. And so what I did is I figured, okay, so if I buy all the materials and do it myself, I didn't count my time, but if I bought all the materials, the wood, some tools I may need, etc., and I did it myself, how much would that cost me? And I came up with a figure that was a lot lower than obviously what the contractors were going to charge me. At that point, it was at that point that I figured that if I do it myself, okay, and I mess up something, then I can go to one of these contractors or maybe even somebody else like a handyman and say, I messed this up. I need you to fix this for me. And I'd still have a lot of the funds left over to fix my mess up. Okay. And then I'd still come out lower than what these contractors were charging me. So, you know, do it smart. Think about doing it yourself. That's great, but also get some quotes from the experts to kind of see what the difference is. And if the difference is nominal, maybe have them do it so you can take some time off, right? Again, then hire the experts. If you decide to hire individual people to do it rather than yourself, get at least a couple of quotes, 2-3 quotes, and make sure that that there's performance guarantees in there that they're going to finish it before a certain period of time or what have you, or maybe they get a bonus if they finish it, in a shorter period of time, etc. But make sure that you hire the right people, that you get a couple of quotes, and you just don't go either with your friend down the street or the first guy that you get. Map out the project step by step. Hey, look, the important thing is don't forget the small items and the small costs. Okay, the small things is kind of what kills you in projects like this, and you want to make sure that you take those into consideration. So if you're doing a reno, if you're doing a project, think of even the small stuff, even light switches and the plates that go over the light switches, etc. Because you got to know where you're going to get them, how long it's going to take to get in, and whether they're all going to match, or you're going to have some kind of theme going. Okay, so make sure you take everything into consideration because things can add up, right? Okay, know where you're willing to cut corners and when you're where you're willing to invest. I think several months ago we had a vlog about kitchen appliances. Okay, and although I think we talked about like the cooktop or the range, you don't need to get a Wolf or a Wolf or a Sub-Zero range in your kitchen unless that's what you really want. Okay, but if you're doing a reno, you don't really need that really high end thing. But you don't want to get the piece of the POS either. Okay, because that will, number one, not give you the value for the trouble that you're going through, number one. And number two, eventually, let's face the facts, you're eventually going to sell the house and move to something bigger or smaller, or maybe a different location. And if you're sitting there with some junky kind of crummy cooktop, people are going to believe me. I take people into houses all the time, whether it's buyers or people coming into open houses, and they look at the detail and they say, "Hey, this is a crummy cooktop." And my response is, "Oh well, it doesn't cost that much to replace it." Well, you know what? But it's an effort that they're going to have to go through to replace the cooktop. Okay, so set a project budget. Understand where you're going to cut some corners and what's important to you to finish. And what if you cut corners today in a certain area, what you could come back in 6 months, maybe when you had a little bit more money, or a year or something like that, that you can do. For example, maybe if you're redoing your kitchen, maybe you can make do with the old lighting, hanging lighting, or fans or something like that, and know that maybe in 6 months or 12 months you're going to replace those with something nicer because you just didn't have the funds right now. Okay, so think about stuff like that. And then also, lastly, pad your budget. You could add like a 10% buffer in there. The way prices today in this inflationary cycle are going, you price out something today, in 2 months it's going to be 10% higher anyway. So add a 10% buffer, and in older homes maybe a 25% buffer for surprises. Might not be such a bad idea either, when you're kind of planning out your budget and planning out the whole project. So I hope that kind of gave you some good ideas. Next week, we're going to be talking about DIY projects gone wrong. Now, I talked to a friend of mine who does a lot of DIY projects, and with his permission, no names, I've got some examples of stuff that he's run into, and so we're going to go through DIY projects that have kind of gone wrong. Hope you tune in for that. This is Steve. I'm with the Rose Realty team. I'm out.